G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club, where I'm going to add yet another episode to the sub-series that I'm putting together, entitled All That I've Learned from Anthony Robbins Over the Years. I'm just heading down to Camden this afternoon to catch up with an uncle of mine, and what I thought would be a useful use of my time would be just to go through and just deliver one more version, one more episode, and to increase the counter by one. And this video is number 73 of a series of 365. So I've set myself a goal, an ambitious goal at that, of putting together a library of videos basically detailing and capturing all that I've learned from the big man over the years. And there is a lot of material that I've been able to use and leverage from, given that I've read both of his original texts, Awaken the Giant Within and Unlimited Power. I've listened over and over and over again to his tape series, Power Talk and Power Talk 2. And I've also been to not just one, but three, believe it or not, UPWs, Unleash the Power Within experiences, which is basically 4 days jam-packed with a lot of material, a lot of learning, and a lot of reflection at the same time. So what I've been able to do is I've had a lot of time to think about all of this material over the years, given that I did my first UPW in 94 and followed up another one in 95, and read the Anthony Robbins books back when I was 30, or in my early 30s, and now I'm 63. So I've had 30 years of life experiences where I've been able to think about and create examples and to ruminate over these things. And I guess today is the opportunity where I can just take one more of the lessons and add to it and shape it into a video talk and see where it leads us. Let me just plug the power source into my phone whilst I'm driving, because I don't want to run out of power. Just bear with me. There you go. Put the charger in and we're right to go. So just as an aside, the latest UPW that I attended with my eldest daughter Katerina. Artie wasn't able to attend because she had a baby and she had to look after her baby, so I volunteered to come and join in on the UPW program, and I'm glad I did, because even though 30 years or thereabouts have passed, the material that Anthony Robbins uses is authentic, is very, very similar, if not the same, word for word, to the material that he delivered back when he first conceived this wonderful program. So what I did was, this time round, is I took lots of notes. I took 167 pages of notes. I went in ready to absorb as much as I could, and I'm actually glad that I did, because at the end of the seminar they announced that this would be the last seminar, the last UPW, that was going to be hosted in Sydney by the big man Tony Robbins, the last live one, where you get to hear Tony Robbins in person. And who knows when we'll ever get the chance to be in an audience with the big man. So I took lots of notes, and one of the things that he said, it is quite profound and still resonates with me. And when I look at my notes, I see that he says that if you get into your head, you're dead. And what he means by that is that if you spend too much time living in your past, or too much time planning and preparing for your future, or worrying about your future, then you're going to be either depressed or anxious. Either way, you're going to be experiencing a disempowering state. Because if you're spending too much time living in your past, then you're missing out on your present. And if you're spending too much time worrying about the future, you're also missing out on the present. And Tony Robbins and other psychologists go on to say that the people who spend too much of their time in the past are most probably going to be suffering depression, and the ones who spend too much time in the future will most certainly be suffering certain levels of high anxiety, which is not a good place to be, because either way you're experiencing disempowering sort of states and generating potentially disempowering sort of feelings. And of course it depends. If you're spending your time in the past and thinking about the good times and being thankful about the wonderful past, the wonderful childhood, the wonderful relationships that you've had, then that is a positive. But you can't spend your whole life living and enjoying the past in your head, because as we're saying, you're missing out on engaging with the here and now. And the same goes on with the future as well. And we've said it, and I've said it before, so I won't spend too much time saying the same thing over and over again. But the big call to action from Tony Robbins is that by all means, it's okay to have one foot in the past. It's okay to have one foot in the future. But your whole body, your whole weight, your whole presence needs to be in the here and now. Because what you do here and now is going to be your past, and it's going to become your present, and you're going to actualize your future. So it makes most sense that we shouldn't take our eyes off the road, our hands off the wheel, and fall asleep at the wheel. We need to do whatever we can right here and right now, and asking ourselves the question, is what I'm doing right here and now the most productive thing that I can do with my time? Is it contributing to my goals, the goals that are aligned to my values and where I want to be, and are they expressing and reflecting my calling or callings? And is whatever I'm doing now, or thinking about now, or planning now, is it God pleasing? Is it going to be something that is going to serve God with all my heart, mind and soul? Is it going to help me glorify God? Is it going to allow me to partner with God in order to make this world a better place? And we also need to consider every moment of the day and every decision point throughout the day. Is what I'm doing not only serving God and pleasing God, but is it showing my love for my neighbour, for my enemy, for my other, anybody else we touch throughout the day? Are we expressing love for them at the same level of the love that we express and that we have for ourselves? And there's a big clue there, and we've said it time and time again on other vlogs. You need to love God with all your heart, mind and soul. You also need to be selfish to a certain extent, and to learn to love yourself and to be happy with your own company and to be pleased with what you are and what you do, as long as, of course, it's aligned to your calling and it's God-pleasing. And we need our cup to be overfilleth, just like God has unconditional love for us. We also need to have unconditional love for ourselves and unconditional love for all of those around us, which is easy to talk about, hard to think about, and even harder to express and to demonstrate. But if we don't have unconditional love for ourselves and unconditional love for our neighbours, knowing very well that we're all work in progress, we're all frail, we're all damaged in some way, shape or form, we're all learning as we're going, and we're going to make mistakes, there's no doubt about it, but we need to make sure that we love and we appreciate who we are and what we've got, all the gifts that we have, and to try and express those as best we can through the love of others, through our works, through our thoughts, through our deeds, and make sure that the life that we have, the time that we have, the lifetime that we get to live is one that enables us to be authentic and to do the things that are going to be most productive for us. Anthony Robbins also goes on to say that each person is invited to be the generational breakthrough, the generational leader in their family, a person that does something positive, of course, for the first time in their family, be it being the first person to go to university, the first person to complete university, the first person to get married and stay married, the first person to whatever, the first person to be successful in a particular business. But most importantly, the most important calling of all is for all of us to be the best possible Christians we can become, and to, as we said before, glorify God with all our heart, mind and soul, and to live our calling. And our calling, according to the big man Anthony Robbins, is up to us to live. Now, we're all going to have a different life. We're all going to have a different past, a different present, and a different future. And some people will overachieve their potential. Others will underachieve their potential. So it's a big thing to be given health. It's a big thing to be given the gifts of the virtues, because each person is created in God's image. And what that means is that we all have components, we all have portions of God's virtues. Nobody can have all of God's virtues. We'll have a micro proportion of God's virtues, and we get to use those virtues hopefully for good, and hopefully we don't swap out those God's gifts, those God's virtues, with passions and selfishness. We are called to do the best we can with what we have. And Anthony Robbins makes a very, very big point. And that big point is that we have everything we need. God created us perfect in every way. We have the abilities through our subconscious. We have our abilities through our ability to communicate. We're social beings. We can get things done by ourselves, but we can also get things done through people. And even somebody who is not 100% healthy, or don't have 100% of their mental faculties, it doesn't mean that they're not perfect in their particular way or in their particular constitution. Because as we've heard time and time again, every single person who has ever been conceived has a purpose. Even a baby that is conceived and ends up becoming a miscarriage serves a purpose. The mother of that baby becomes a mother, even though she hasn't given birth to that child. That child, by being conceived within the Greek Orthodox context, has personhood, is a person, even if they only live for a nanosecond, a week, a month, a couple of months. The mere fact that the baby has created an experience for the mother, and the mother has created an experience for the fetus, the baby, regardless of how many cells there are in the baby or how small it is. That itself is a miracle, and it's absolutely beautiful, and we shouldn't underestimate anything and anyone, and be grateful for the fact that we've had an opportunity to be part of somebody else's growth and development, regardless of how enhanced or how fully developed a person becomes. Because, as we say, in life, not everybody achieves their potential. And one of the most difficult things as a parent of a healthy child, a child that you've spent a whole lifetime admiring, supporting, loving. You want the best for your child, but you also want for your child to achieve their potential. and most importantly for them to continue to grow and develop and become the best version of themselves, because they're representing themselves with all the things that they do, say, think about, but they're also representing the parents, the family, the brothers, the sisters, the extended family, and also all of those people who have gone before them. Because at the end of the day, each and every one of us are an ambassador for the schools that we've been to, for the church community that we're part of, for the ancestors that have come before us, that we are surviving them through our lives. We are ambassadors, and we all have a duty and a life right, a birthright to carry on their good works, or to do something even more significant than what they may have done in their lives. Each person has the invitation to be the most successful person in all of their family. And when we say most successful, I really need to be, and as Anthony Robbins says, we need to be very, very careful with what we claim or what we measure as success. From a individual perspective, success can be measured as a person reaching, achieving, or overachieving their potential. As the famous NBL basketball coach John Wooden says, society won't judge you on what you have achieved, but will judge you on what you should have achieved, given the amount of investment people have made in you, based on the opportunities, the network, the natural skills that you've had, that you were born into. Some people are born strong, other people are born with a higher level of intelligence, other people have personalities which are really infectious and charismatic. Now, everybody has certain gifts that they are born with, and it's up to us in our lives to enhance those gifts and also build strengths in other areas so that we become well-rounded. So the big man Anthony Robbins says, at the end of the day, you need to continue to grow and develop throughout your life, and that development and that growth needs to be consistent, because when you stop growing and stop developing, what you're actually doing is you're actually decaying and dying. You're in entropy. You're losing what you had. And I remember years ago listening to the great golfer, the great Australian golfer, the great white shark, Greg Norman, who used to say, I train really, really hard in order to become the best golfer I can be, and hopefully the best golfer in the world, the number one. And then when I reach that pinnacle, when I reach that height, then I need to train even harder in order to maintain that level. So each person has an invitation to be the first in their family, for whatever it is. And Anthony Robbins says that the big warning is what you don't want to be is you don't want to be the first in a negative way. You don't want to be the first one in your family to go to jail. You don't want to be the first one in your family to I don't know what to say, but you know what I mean. You can just pick and choose any negatives in your family. So if you're the first at doing something, you've got to ask yourself, is this first something that will honour my family? Is this first something that will please God? Is this first something that my friends and family and people and ancestors, if they were all alive today, is this first something that they would be proud of? A lot of people don't sit and think about it. They think that I'm an individual and I'll do whatever I want. I don't care what other people think or say. But as I mentioned before, if you are mature and you have your wits about you and you are able to critically think, then one thing that we need to do is to ask ourselves, now, what is our purpose? Why did we come into the world? Why did we come into our families? And each person comes in for a particular reason, and only God knows what that reason is. But hopefully that reason is a positive reason, is a reason that unites the family, is a reason that builds on what we had before, is something that is able to help expand and set a new standard. And this is another key point that comes out of the Anthony Robbins seminars, where he talks about the fact that we need to be surrounded by people who set a standard and who help us raise the standard. People who cajole us, people who push us, who pull us, who move us, who energize us, who infect us with positivity so that we can do more with our lives than what we would have done if it was left to our own decisions or our own thought patterns. Jim Rohn, who is a mentor to Anthony Robbins, the late Jim Rohn, would always say, life is very, very easy. It's easy to be successful. It's easy to do whatever you want to do. But it's easier not to do anything. And this is what causes most people to not reach their potential in their life, because it's easier not to reach your potential, because to reach your potential requires work, requires effort, requires energy, requires focus, planning, activity, and not everybody has the ability to consistently stay on their mission. So if you're going to spend time in your mind, as Anthony Robbins said, if you're going to spend time in your head, you're going to make sure that you're spending time productively in your head rather than wasting your time. Spend a little bit of time thinking about things. Anthony Robbins talks about the importance of priming yourself in the morning, and priming is simply spending some time in the morning to have a ritual, to create certainty in your day, to talk about the things that you're grateful for, the people, the things in your life that you cherish, you're grateful for, and to remind yourself of all of the great things that are happening in your life, to think about the things that you want to achieve throughout the day, to try and align what you're doing to what is God pleasing, and to forgive yourself and to forgive others, to seek and offer forgiveness on a daily basis. So Anthony Robbins also goes on to say something really interesting, and Anthony Robbins is a Christian. He says that he's a Christian, and he says that God doesn't qualify the calling, but what he does qualify is he qualifies the call. So something really interesting that we all need to try and identify what our calling is. And I've had this discussion with people from time to time, and I've also discussed it at fellowship and with my spiritual father. And a calling is something that just comes to you. That's why it's called a calling. You just wake up knowing that this is what you want to do in your life. And I'm not suggesting that being a drug dealer or being a drug addict is a calling, but a calling is something that you're naturally good at. Some people are really good at athletics, other people are good at selling, other people are good at teaching, other people are good at caring for others, other people are good at bringing up children. There are just so many different things that people can be good at. So what we need to do is we need to sit down from time to time and get a piece of paper and just try and identify what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, what are the things that we do that make us feel good, what are the things that we do that show that we're naturally gifted more so than the average person in terms of doing it. Now, what are the things that we do that we don't have to force ourselves to do it? It doesn't appear to be a job, but it appears to be an act of love, an expression of love, something that you really feel comfortable doing. And by doing it, time just never seems to pass. It's just something that time just stops and you just enjoy and you're really good at it. Now, people need to identify their calling, and of course, as I said before, we need to align it and ask ourselves the question, is this calling something that's going to be pleasing God? Is this calling something that's going to be aligned in partnership with what God is doing or wants to do? And is this something that's going to help others? And by helping others, it's going to help me as well. So as we're alluding to here, the calling that we talk about is something which is core to our existence. And you may have different callings throughout your life, and it may come, and as our skills vary and change throughout life, not everybody is called to be a parent. Not everybody is called to be a spouse. Not everybody is called, to be a leader. Sometimes we need followers, and by being a follower, by being somebody who supports, somebody who validates, somebody who helps others achieve greatness, that in itself is a valid and a good calling, something that you don't need to be ashamed of, because we've got to understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how it's helping and who it's helping. And if it's all about just helping yourself, if it's all about your own ego, if it's all about being selfish, then that in itself isn't a worthy calling. But by all means, the big man says that there are times, there are chapters, there are phases, there are seasons in our lives, and each of those seasons have different challenges. Each of those times have different challenges. And at some times in our lives we need to be selfish, especially when you're young. You need to be selfish because you need to learn. You need to be selfish because you need to build your skills. You need to get educated. You need to get experiences. You need to gain experiences. You need to gain perspective. And then as we get older and older and we accumulate more and more patterns, then comes a time where we need to flip. And instead of becoming selfish, we need to change, dramatically change, and to become selfless, where we take all of those skills, we take the money that we've earned, we take the experiences that we've gained, we take the network that we've built, we take the health, the wonderful health that we have, and all of the other things, and then we start packaging all of those things and start delivering it in forms of love to other people around us. It can be to our children, to our parents, to our spouse, to our extended family, to our church community, to our country, to our work environment. Who knows? But all of those things that we do needs to be done with the right frame of mind, the right frame of heart, so that we can partner, as I said before, in God's program, in God's creation, so that we can make things better for others. And by making it better for others, we also benefit as well, because there are people who have different callings, different strengths. No person is perfect other than Jesus. No person can do everything. No person can be all things to all people other than Jesus. But we need to understand that we all have our frailties, we all have our weaknesses, we all have gaps in our lives. And those gaps that we have can and will be filled potentially by the strengths that other people have, just like we fill gaps in other people's lives. Others are invited to fill the gaps in our lives, and to understand that it's a process of give and take. You just can't take all the time and be fulfilled, because that's being greedy. No, it's more about giving and taking. Sometimes you'll give more and take less. Other times you'll take more and give less. But the objective over our lifetimes for those who are healthy, strong and capable is to be able to give much, much more than what you take. And by doing that, you're creating more significant value. You're bringing significant value and capability to the table, and it's not being wasted, but it's being invested. It's being used for others to grow and develop and to benefit. Tony Robbins always talks about the fact that he socializes with lots and lots of billionaires, and he says that if you are content with your life, if you are fulfilled with what you are doing, then chances are you're more successful than the most successful billionaire in the world. Because it's all about you being content and happy with where you are with your life. And the more that you grow, the more that you contribute, according to the big man, the more happiness you're going to receive. And the more that we partner with God and are part of His plan, and that we're helping each other, we're loving ourselves, we're loving others, we're loving God, and there's a never-ending self-regulating and enforcing relationship between us and God and with each other, then that's what life's all about. That's what we all need to try and achieve. But as I said before, it's easier said than done, because for some people there are lots of missing parts in their life. There's a lot of emptiness where they just feel unfulfilled. And when you're unfulfilled, then it's just natural that you're going to spend all of your time trying to fill yourself up rather than fill other people up. So as I said, there's a time and a place for everything. There is a time where we take and build our capabilities, but there also needs to come a time where we need to be able to give back and receive back, but give back more. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there. And as I said, Anthony Robbins reminds us that we have all that we need in order to achieve all that we want in our lives. And all it means is that you just need to have faith in God's providence. You need to do the things on a daily basis that are God-pleasing. You need to ask yourself the question time and time again, is what I'm doing right here and now God-pleasing, predominantly God-pleasing? And by doing that in itself, then chances are that you're living a Christian life, a life of love, a life of giving, a life of contribution, a life of gratitude and thanking, and a life of creating value. So I think I'll leave it there. So thank you very much for listening to me today. As I say, it's not easy to hit the play button on a video and to talk for 45 minutes on a subject which you're not an authority on. Something that is unedited, something that is not scripted, not planned. But the beauty of this program that I have, the beauty of this YouTube channel, is it all comes from the heart. It all comes from the heart. And as I say, I've spent a lifetime reading, thinking, observing, and I have one of the world's biggest channels, one of the world's biggest YouTube channels in terms of content and variety, delivering personal development material to those who are interested. So if you can, just spread the word for me. As I say, I don't have too many followers. I don't hardly get any comments or any likes. I guess that seems to be the way it is for me. But it doesn't stop me, because as I say, if I was doing it for the likes, if I was doing it for popularity, then I would have stopped after 5 or 10 vlogs, because I would have seen that people aren't as interested. in what I say as what I am interested in what I say. But I know one thing for sure and for certain. If I was a young 15-year-old James Paniaris, I'd be listening to these tapes every day. And as I say to my daughters, my granddaughters, if you listen to one of my videos a day, it will take you over 30 years to go through my entire library. One of the great things that Anthony Robbins has said, as has Jim Rohn and Steve Covey, he says it's important to read books, it's important to gain experience from OPE, other people's experience. But the most important experience, the most important books to have in your library are your personal journals. Is your experience that you've sat down and thought about, you've reflected on, you've written about, where you've documented your own life. Because Anthony Robbins says that a life worth living is a life worth documenting. So one thing that really pleases me is that I'm an embodiment of that philosophy, because I have, as I said before, 1,600 plus videos in my YouTube channel. I've got enough material there to be twice or three times as much material as what Aesop was able to publish in his time with the Aesop fables. I've got 3 times the amount of his material. And it's all there available on YouTube, free of charge, available to anybody in the world who has an internet connection and can just tap into YouTube and just listen to it for as long as they want, and it costs them absolutely nothing. So wishing you all the best. Take care. Wishing everybody a Merry Christmas. Got a couple of days before Santa comes, and once again to thank you for your support, and thank you for all that you've been able to do for me and for others throughout your lives. Take care, wish you all the best, and we'll chat again soon. Bye for now.